Hello everyone, I just graded your Literary Analysis 1 on fiction, and I wanted to go over a few do's and don'ts for your upcoming Literary Analysis on poetry, as well as if you choose to revise essay number 1. I wanted to talk a little bit about things to avoid and things that I'd like you to do more of. So I'm going to use the screen here. I've created a table that's just do's and don'ts, and I want to illustrate some of the things that I saw most frequently in the essays that I graded. So a few don'ts would be check your diction. So words like things or thing and stuff or huge or a lot or very or really are better served for communication orally. The way we speak, we use these types of more informal phrases. They're not used in academic essays, so try to find a more specific, more concrete word instead. Avoid phrases like back in the day or in the old days. Back in the day is very relative. It's dependent on who you are, what age you are, and what you consider old. And it's just, again, a more informal way of referencing things. If you are referring to a previous time period, give us that time frame, give us some context for what the societal norms were like back then, what some of the important historical moments were back then, but avoid phrases like back in the day. I want you to remember to get rid of your personal pronouns. So first person point of view is I, me, my, our, we, us. Don't put phrases like I think or I believe. Though you do think and you do believe, because you are the author of this essay, we feel when we read it that all of these thoughts and all of these analyses are yours. So there's no need to put I think or I feel. It just tends to puff up or cloud your sentences. Similarly, you want no second person point of view, which is you and your. Since you are not directly addressing your reader, you're writing to a more formal audience who might read it later, you want to avoid using you and your. Get rid of phrases like seem or seems to. These seem a little wishy-washy. They're not assertions, and part of what you do in writing analysis papers is to stake your claim with a thesis statement. This is my argument. These are the points that I'm going to use to prove it. And when you use flimsy words like seem or kinda, it deflates the air in your argument, if you will. You want it to be assertive and strong. And part of the reason that you've created this thesis statement is because you believe it. You believe that you found evidence from the text to help prove it. I have been very pleased to see that you are using the template outline that I gave you on Blackboard to kind of show you what I want an essay to look like. So the body, the hat mat intro, the body paragraphs, the conclusion. However, what I'd like you to avoid doing when you use that kind of outline is to use phrases like this quote shows. That is boilerplate, placeholder text for you to use to know how to segue into it, but I don't want to see that type of verbiage in your essay. Try to transition a little bit more smoothly. Some things that I would like to see more of: setting up your quotes, giving them context. So I call these dropped or plopped quotes, where you're explaining something and then you just throw a quote in and you don't really set it up or explain what it's doing there. And you need to ease the reader into the evidence that you're using, just as a lawyer would if he or she was providing evidence to build a case. You can't just come in with the quote from some witness or some expert without telling the jury where that information is coming from. So set up your quotes. Build yourself around them so we know what happened in the story at the time it was being spoken or written, and that we have some better understanding of where and when it took place. The other thing I would say is avoid inflated sentences. This is because sentences that also start with there is, there are, there was, there were, they're fine occasionally, but they shouldn't be a large percentage of your sentences because, again, they just add extra words that aren't necessary. All right, I think that I got most of it, except for a really important one. I had several of you who just didn't put a works cited page at all in your paper. You might have done a good job with your in-text citations, meaning that you properly, at the end of your quotations or paraphrases, you gave credit to the author and the page number on which you found that information, but you have to include a works cited page in addition to doing the in-text citations. So it needs to be in MLA format. It needs to have the author, the title of the piece, where you found it, when it was published, the publishing company, and the pages on which you found it. And all of that information is on the OWL Purdue, and there are multiple resources on Blackboard for you to check out. Because I had so many of you who did forget those things, and because I have several of you whom I want to revise and rework these essays, I am allowing you to, for this first essay anyway, revise your paper for a chance at a better grade. And if you do choose to do that, I would have you turn the new paper in, submitting it to the Essay 1 assignment area on Blackboard by no later than March 6th, which is a Wednesday, and that would be a midnight deadline. So that gives you a couple weeks to revise, to rethink, and I would offer you a few more resources if you're interested in getting some additional feedback or help. Number one is the Learning Commons, which is on the second floor of the ARC building on the La Crosse campus. This is the same building that houses the library. It's within the library itself. So go into the ARC building, walk up the stairs, or take the elevator to the second floor, go into the library, and turn right. You will see the Learning Commons there. It is equipped with writing tutors, writing specialists who will sit down with you and your draft, look over the comments that I've given you, and assist you with editing. That's option one. Option two is to submit your draft to the Online Writing Center. Just do a quick search for that on Western's main page or any page where you see the magnifying glass. Do Online Writing Center, submit your draft, submit a short description of the assignment, and someone will send you emailed edits, comments, within 3 school days, and they will also CC me on that email so that I see it. Your third option is to set up a time to meet one-on-one with me. And that would mean you coming to campus, we sit down with your draft, and we go over ways that you can improve it. If you are not able to come to campus, we can also do a phone conference as well. I'm happy to talk over the phone about things that I'd like you to do or ways to assist you with improving things like topic sentences and thesis statements and building evidence. So I wanted to offer those pieces of advice, and again, March 6th, which is a Wednesday night, would be the due date if you choose to revise Essay 1, and I encourage you to seek out all or any of those resource options that I listed in this video for additional feedback and help. Thank you, and I look forward to listening to, or reading, I should say, your next batch of essays and work. Take care.